Welcome, everybody. Happy Friday.
Good
Welcome to the
morning.
Marbles podcast with Standard Damage and Spooo. And me.
And you too.
And today, we're going to discuss something that was suggested. Growing into your role as a streamer, but also not only as a streamer, but because we have very special cases with Standard and Spooo, growing into your role as a community manager, getting involved with the studio and how that all played out, stuff like that.
Yeah.
So let's
Happy
start
Friday.
out. Happy Friday. Let's start
First
off with
Friday.
Spooo, I guess, and dive into it a little bit.
Okay. So I'm going to talk about my community manager role, and I guess how I just kind of fell into it. When I first started rolling marbles, I didn't think about any sort of position within the game at all. The game kind of just consumed me, and since it was so new, I saw something within marbles personally. And I've been saying it since the beginning, like, this game's going to be huge. This game's going to blow up. Like, I've been saying it a lot since the beginning. And, but I kind of took that initiative upon myself to spread the word of the game itself, because I knew there wasn't there's no marketing behind marbles other than the people themselves. And that's just something I knew. And if I was so into the competition, meeting people, streaming, and the prizes involved in the game, like, why wouldn't other people want to get involved as well? And because I was so passionate, I think that's what helped other people get involved to begin with, because I was just so unbelievably passionate about it. And I was cranking races and coming up with little stupid events or building races or getting people while I'm streaming in other people's stream to, like, give them the amount of racers they needed. And it was just this whole entwined experience of it was just euphoria, honestly, and built around something new and exciting. Really helped bring that out even more. And I never expected to get some sort of community manager role. I think this is just something that naturally came to me from my past experiences as a manager in other roles. And as a leader, I guess, just the natural leadership came out in me a lot when it came to marbles, and then creativeness as well on top of that. And I don't even remember the whole process of Pixel coming to me about asking me as a community manager. And when he did, I was just like, okay, like, I didn't really know how to respond. And then we talked about it before the podcast today about how he mentioned to us, he doesn't, like, he's finding people and he doesn't expect more out of people. He just likes kind of what I was doing and wanted me to keep doing that. But it was still just like a weird thing, because I guess for me, it just came naturally. So to be offered like a position on something that just felt normal to me was very interesting. And then growing into that role, I don't know, I've just learned a lot growing into the role too, and what it takes on top of what I was already doing. And then thinking about me having the role too makes me want to come up with more things other than just meeting people and teaching people. Like, I want to teach people to meet people. I want to teach people to teach people.
Right.
So that they can kind of take my role and continue spreading the good word of the marbles,
Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting how over time you morph from like wanting to be like, again, we talked about so much of this before we even began the podcast today, but how we want to go from being powerhouses that are rolling marbles to becoming teachers, becoming like finding new ways to connect people and all that. That's it's such a different perspective on everything. It was like, and I was thinking about that a lot. For those of you that were around when we did our podcast with Shens last night, I was thinking about that again. Like while I'm talking to Shens, in the back of my mind, it's like, this is a different view on marbles than I ever thought I would be doing. I never like when I got started, I didn't. All I knew when I started with this game was that it was a great game that I could chat with people over. and I could create this warm, loving environment around it. That was really all I knew. Like I didn't have any, admittedly, I didn't have any aspirations beyond that myself. Like you don't come into this thinking, well, I'm going to become a community manager, or, well, I'm going to have this, you know, I'm going to have this place in the company somewhere or anything like that. It was literally just, I just want to be a good streamer. You know, I want to be a good content creator. And, you know, Spooo, the same thing. Like I could draw so many parallels because I did that same exact path. It's like, how do we make it more interesting? How do we theme it out? How do we treat it like you've always put it? Like, how do we treat it like the sandbox it is and build on top of it?
Right.
And you start doing that. And Mike came to us both and he said the same thing to both of us. It's like, I don't expect anything more out of you than what you're already doing. Just keep being a good representative of the game and working with me on it. And we both, even though he said that to both of us, we both said, well, yeah, but we want to do videos and we want to do podcasts and we want to do classes and we want to do, like, there's all these things that, and it comes from, and I think that says a lot, because when you get so involved with something that you want to do more, not because somebody's telling you you have to, but because you want to, that definitely puts a different perspective.
It changes the weight behind what you're doing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Pushes it harder, and it's more you.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I'm just,
How do you guys balance everything as a community manager, I guess? How do you weigh out what you focus on and what you don't?
That's I guess that's part of the challenge, right?
That's a big question.
Because like there's so many things you want, like there's just so many things to focus on, especially as the game grows too. I don't know. I think teaching. Oh man, I don't know. Go ahead, Standard, because I gotta think through my thought process here.
Because I can actually answer this one fairly easily, because this is actually something I've been thinking through as I'm rebuilding out everything, you know, since losing the computer. It really, you have to decide where your focus is. Like, and I'm going to use this kind of as an example because this is a concrete example, but when I go into the Pixel Discord now, what I used to do is I used to sweep all the channels, and I don't do that anymore because it becomes a time thing. So what I do is I go into the Pixel Discord and go, where, based on what I want my purpose to be with the studio, where do I need to focus? So I zoom into the How to Grow channel, which would make sense. And I've been trying to pay more attention to the Introduce Yourself channel because I want to also be welcoming. So I look at because we're getting to the point now where the game is getting so big that we're going to have to start specializing a bit. So that means that we're going to need to remain focused on like we have to pinpoint a little bit better now. It's no longer a matter of, can I wear 80 hats? It's now, can I wear 40 hats and do it better? Kind of thing. So when you go in, you have to look at this and go, well, this is why, you know, it's like I want to do a podcast, but then I have to ask myself why I want to do that podcast. What benefit does the community get from me doing a podcast? Is it about us all getting to know each other better, or is it something like we do on Friday mornings where it's about, you know, getting the message out to the community in terms of how we look at different things, how the studio views different things, how we view different things as community managers, tackling tougher topics, things like that. Is it about, and it's the same thing like with the Tuesday classes that are about to get started again. It's like, what is the purpose? What value does the community get out of me doing classes? Is it about teaching advanced marbles techniques? Is it about Twitch growth? Is it about stream growth? Is it about, and once you hit that level, then you have to pinpoint it in even further, because even when teaching about Twitch, there's this many topics that you could teach on. So it's like, how do I keep it focused? How do I keep it
find your strengths, you know,
relevant to the studio? And how do you, yes, exactly. How do you play to your strengths most of all? Like what should you be teaching? Because there are a lot of people out there that would like to teach, but they don't have, I'm not saying they shouldn't be teachers, but they don't have the capacity to teach the particular subject that they think they want to. They need
Right.
more information before they do that. So you have to take your own limitations into account. And if it's something you don't know enough about but still really want to do, then you have to go learn more before you actually teach it to somebody else. So, but a lot of it is just balancing it now is about more pinpointing the things that need to be discussed, what brings the most to the community, and that helps make the path a little more clear. But as far as balancing time, there are times when I admit it, I just find myself behind.
So
There are
hard.
just so many things I want to do. Yeah.
Yeah. It's hard to juggle everything, especially, I mean, as someone who I enjoy just talking to people, which is strange because I feel like I never really enjoyed that, but it's more or less like getting to understand the the human, not even the individual. Like, you learn about the individual, but I'm more or less want to understand the human and why people act so many different ways. And I think my open-mindedness helps me just relate with so many people. So the more I have done like management in the past, and the more I'm growing with this game, the more I realize like I'm just good at talking to people, and people like talking to me. Or, you know, maybe not everybody, of course, but you know, the people that do like talking to me, they really like my input on things. And I don't know, it's like, it's such an eye-opening thing to me that people just want to listen to me talk about my thoughts about stuff. And so I lean into that for sure. And I always tell people to reach out if, you know, they want to talk about something. Yeah, so I don't know. That's but then I don't like to focus way too much on just that, because then I'm not focusing on what I want to do.
Right.
I'm more focusing on what other people want to do, which is good because I'm teaching things, I guess, that I've learned from my experiences. But if I'm not focusing on myself, am I really growing?
Yeah.
I don't know. Helping people helps you,
Right.
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
you still want to work on things for yourself and not just always be focusing on other people.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. You definitely, you have to take into account, and especially when you're talking about something like being a community manager, like, you don't ever want to do anything that feels or comes off as selfish, because you're there for the community. But
Yeah.
it's very important that you know, that you keep in mind, like, anytime you find yourself in a position like this, especially because, you know, it sometimes feels like we're the guinea pigs, because we're still kind of feeling out where our place is. Like, you know, community managers are still a fairly a new thing. So that being the case, like, we have to think about not just what is expected of us by the community, but also what do we like to do in the long haul, you know, because we don't want to get ourselves in the middle of something because we're the ones building this out and then find that it's burning us out.
Right.
Or we don't like it. You know, it's we've really had to take baby steps in certain directions to figure out what it is we like, how we want to execute, that kind of thing. Like, there are some ideas that are great ideas, but the way that I wanted to execute them would have been totally wrong, or it would have fried me out within 3-4 weeks, you know. And rather than do that, now it becomes, at that point, again, it becomes more baby steps. It's like, okay, I'm going to do this much for this podcast, or I'm going to do this much for this class. I'm going to see how that goes,
Right.
and how I feel about it, and then I'll steer one way or the other depending on what kind of reaction we get and how I'm personally feeling at the time. But yeah, we have to, while we're doing it, because we are doing so much, because we are so busy, we have to make sure that that we're still doing things we're passionate about.
Right.
That comes back to passion. You know, we want to make sure
Right.
we're very passionate about what we're doing. So,
And I think I just lost my thought because I was thinking about what you were saying. I think it's important to, Mike, you talk about this a lot, to not focus so much on obviously negativity, but when you're building a creative atmosphere, you're trying to do something for either your channel or for the community, you just have to understand that there's going to be people out there that don't like it, and the more that you bottle up your mind with things like trying to please everybody, the more you're just not going to be able to open up your creative space and do as much as you want to do, because you're thinking about, oh, what if this person doesn't like it? What if that person doesn't like it? And then that goes on to what you were saying, Standard, about what you're passionate about. Because if you're doing something you're passionate about and you love, like people are going to respond to that big time. And if somebody doesn't like it, like they're just not going to like it. But if you're sitting there and you're absolutely having a good time, and you see some other people having a good time, like you're doing something right, 100%. Yeah. And that's so important to notice and acknowledge, and not let certain small little things on the side just affect your drive forward.
Well, it also, like I was talking about it yesterday, is even when you're working on something, like actually like working on it on streamer where people can see it and people are chiming in with their ideas. What I tell people now is like, just let me try and get my idea out first. Let me get this out of my head. And then we can reflect off of it and change it if needed. And that's a whole nother thing, is like, if you have an initial idea in your head, try to stick to it and just play it out, and then let people comment and throw their feedback against it once it's like in a state that like people can absorb it. If that makes sense. Because then you're just constantly going to be cutting your creativity off every time, and then just you got nothing. Because you're constantly like, oh, this person doesn't like that, or this person thinks this, or they wanted this, and then you're just constantly shifting this thing, and you never get to the end point that you first saw.
Right.
And I think that's a danger.
Yeah, we the creative process there are so many things that railroad the creative process all the time. It's tough to teach, like what you just said, Mike. It's really tough to teach yourself to do that. I think it was last week's podcast, but we were talking about how like 5 more ideas might come out while you're trying to build out one.
Right.
And then it's like, okay, I need to take that in more, like I need to take this more in taking baby steps with this stuff, by the way, is part of what helps that along the way. But since we talked about it last week, and I've been thinking about that a lot more, just how many projects I don't have off the ground, even small ones, even simple ones, just because I feel like I've needed to overcomplicate it. So like, it's still there. The idea is still there. It's still written down. I'm still going to execute it, but I've complicated it so many layers up now that just even without feedback, that it's gone like this way. And to your point, Mike, it's like, get it done, get that basic idea done first. And then, like you said, take the feedback and all that before you overcomplicate it to the point where you find yourself just not doing it.
Right.
Good stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, like, talking about different hats and everything like that is like, as a content creator, or even just anybody really in business, when you're running your own show, sometimes you may have to fill in the gaps yourself. For example, like sometimes I have to do the audio for the effects myself, and just get something into the game because the person who works with us normally sometimes isn't available or is busy, right? And I think something like that is important to accept right off the bat when you're walking into this industry, and how you may need to pivot and do things you're not comfortable with to ensure that it gets done, because you at the starting point you may not have the funding or resources to be able to just say, hey, can you do this for me, or whatever. You might have to deal with it yourself. And I think that's an important subject to talk about, right? Because like you guys have done that as well, right? Done things that are not even in your scope or wheelhouse of training,
or just experience. You experience working on something with other people, and maybe somebody just can't. Something comes up and they can't do it, or whatever, and like you just want to get it done. You're just like, I just got to do it myself, or whatever. That type of a moment.
Yeah, you have to teach yourself so much, and that's always I think. That's always one of the toughest parts. It's like, I don't know how to do that.
Yeah, and that's where you can feel really defeated.
Yeah, and it's like, well, I guess I'm gonna have to go learn something new then, and take time, like especially when your time is crunched, taking the time, like the 2 hours or whatever is necessary to learn that new skill is part of that. It's not just doing the thing, it's learning how to do the thing. And as much as I love being a student and as much as I love like learning new things, there are times it's like YouTube search, YouTube search, YouTube search. Oh,
Yeah.
there it is. Okay, there's the thing I was looking for. And you go through 10 videos just trying to find the lesson that you were looking for. So yeah, that gets, you have to accept that you are, while others will be there to help you, and you have to be able to identify and be prepared for when somebody does extend their hand and says, hey, you know, I'd love to help you. What can I do? You have to be very self-reliant and insanely self-reliant. It's like, okay, they're not going to get that done, or that's not going to be done in time. So I've got to take this over. I'll have to do the sound effects, or I'll have to do the alert, or I'll have to teach myself that whatever that trick is in After Effects to make that thing fly, whatever the case may be. You have to be there, you know, you have to be there for yourself first, you know, and get that stuff taken care of, because people will, because especially when you're dealing with volunteers, like, and it's not that they're bad people or they're doing anything wrong. It's literally just, these are people with lives, and people with lives have things come up, you know, and that thing happens. It happens all the time. It's like, oh, I'm sorry I couldn't get to it, or oh, I'm sorry I couldn't get that done. I had to work a double shift at work that day, or whatever it is, you know, wherever it comes from. You just have to be ready to anything that you plan out. You have to be ready to even if somebody else said they would do it for you, you've got to be willing to grab that yourself and run with it, if that's what it comes to. Yeah.
Are you guys ask first or search first kind of people? So like if you come up with a problem or you encounter a problem, do you first search it, or do you first ask somebody you may know that has an answer? Maybe
Search.
If I definitely know somebody has an answer, I'll probably ask, but I would say I tend to search first, and then sometimes I give up a lot, and I hate that about me, man. I hate it. Like I get frustrated enough that I give up things, and I hate it. But I just get the frustrations really get to me, and it's just like I can't do this anymore. And then I'll either ask, or maybe I'll come back to it again later or something. But
yeah, I definitely, I'm always under the assumption that because I'm so busy, I assume everybody else around me is as well.
right.
So I'll try to search first. And if I still can't come up with a satisfactory answer, I'll try to ask somebody in the know, you know, somebody that I know that I think might have an answer for that. But most of the time, like I joke about YouTube, but YouTube has been such a friend to me when it comes to like searching up answers.
Yeah.
And finding, like, there's so much that's out there. And I find that by searching and going through those YouTube lessons, or wherever I might find the video or the instruction, I retain it better, so that the next time it comes up, I might not have to look it up again, kind of thing, you know? So I find I just find that's more effective to me, but I won't search so long that I want to put my head through the wall. Like if it starts getting really frustrating, it's like I'll reach out to somebody if I'm having trouble with camera work or sound or something like that. Yeah, I'm not afraid to ask. It's just that I would rather not bug somebody first if there's an easy answer out there somewhere. And a lot of times there is.
yeah,
A lot of times there is. You put the right,
especially nowadays.
Yeah.
it's out there. Yeah. Yeah.
I personally often have the bad habit of asking a lot, because I know I'll just like know somebody has the answer, and I'll reach out to them and say, hey, what's this?
Right.
But it could be, and it's a bad habit because it could be such a simple question, and walking into like what Standard was saying is like you're bugging them, and like sometimes it feels that way. It's like, oh man, but I know they have the answer. It's so easy.
Right. People are, you know, some people do want to share that info that they have, like, and they should. Yeah. I think that's definitely important though. My problem is I'm a stubborn jerk, I feel like. So I'll give up. If I can't find the answers, and if I have that feeling like I'm gonna bother somebody, I'll just give up. And I hate that so much. I don't know how to get over that.
Do you like leave it for another day?
About it.
Or do
I
you
guess it depends on the project or what it is, or maybe I can find another way to do it instead, because that's definitely my style. Like if there's something that someone does and I can't figure it out, I'll find like maybe an alternative way to do it. I'm one of those people that doesn't like to be watched when I work, essentially, because I do things in weird ways a lot of the times, and people are always like, "Why are you doing it like that?" I'm like, "Just don't watch me. I'll get it done."
Look, I did it, all right. Just leave me alone, kind of thing. That's always one of my favorite things. Like when you look up a certain way to do something, and then it's strange. Like this leans back towards asking again, though. Like you figure out a way to do something, and you get it done. And then somebody comes along and looks at the way you did it, and you go, "Why did you do it that way?"
Yeah.
Like this would have been so much simpler, and they show you something that takes like 10 less steps to do, and it's like,
right.
Okay.
And that's a good moment too. It's good to be like taught like that and be like, you know what, this was easier, and maybe you learn something from it. But at the same time, I don't know. Just don't watch me in the first place. It'll be fine.
Stay out of my way. Let me just do this.
Let me just finish this, please. Yeah, I just want to get it done. I just want to get it done. I looked up all those different ways to make animated GIFs, to do alerts and things like that. And then I was told about the wonders of WebM technology, and I'm like, oh my God, really? Like I could have because it would have been so much smoother, it would have been so much prettier and all that.
Maybe that's one of the better ways to learn, though, honestly. Like pour through it yourself, and then somebody has an easier way to do it and kind of shows you the light.
Yeah.
But you got to be willing to show it to them, I guess.
Yeah,
well,
you also get a sense of like the bad way of doing it. And you're like,
yeah.
Oh, now I know why that's bad.
Yeah.
Now I know why I should never do that again. And that goes back to what we were talking about last week a little bit too, about just letting yourself make the mistake. It's if everything was perfect, life wouldn't be any fun. And It's like, okay, now I know how to do. And the way I looked at it is, now I know how to do an animated GIF, and I know how to use WebM. I know how to create those files, and it's. Now you have it's almost like having an extra skill, because there will probably be a time when you have to use that alternative method to accomplish something else you wanted to accomplish.
Right.
Basically. Mm-hmm. So.
No, totally. There was a question actually about picking mods, I think. One sec. Before you guys decide to mod someone, how long do you need to know them? So I would just say, like, how do you guys go along your mod selection process? For the stream. I mean, for me, it's always the same. It's like somebody who's pretty much already acting that way.
Yeah, they kind of fall into the role.
And then you're like, hey, you want to be mod? You're pretty much already doing it. Then I can just give you the title, and then you can swing that sword around.
Yeah. Well, there are a lot of times it really is like there's not really a selection criteria necessary as it is like it is about their behavior. It's like number one, are they around a lot? Do they enjoy just being there? Because moderators are still like it's a privilege to be a moderator, but as a streamer, you've always got to keep in mind that it is still a volunteer army. So when they come into the stream, they can't just hang out. Like they really need to watch chat, and they really need to help you out in certain regards. So you definitely want to look for somebody that's having fun while they're there. That's actually one of the first things that I look for, is like, are they having fun? Do they enjoy being there for lengthy periods of time?
Because then it's not like a job, because they just kind of enjoy being there and helping out, the streamer, the streamer.
Right.
Yeah.
I find a lot of people rush to make mods for their channel, like almost like it's needed, like almost like it's a needed thing right away, where it's not.
For sure. I could get rid of all my mods right now and probably be okay still. I mean, it would be hard, but and once people got wind that I had no mods, who knows what would happen.
Yeah.
I don't think I'm at the point anymore where I could get away with that. Like, you know, it's like, not that I would anyway. Like, I love my mod team. It's just that if I suddenly lost all of them, I think I'm at a point now where I don't think I could get away with it. I mean, I'd make it work if I ever had to, but I wouldn't like it at all. I wouldn't like it at
Yeah.
all. You know, I've got, you know, and I've recently made some staff changes that I'm very happy with. And it's been, again, that goes back to like watching who's been really active and who's been hanging out and all that. And it's again, there's no specific criteria. It comes down more to the individual and how they're behaving in chat. Like, if something big goes down, and every once in a while it happens, you know, if something big goes down, how will they react? Can they keep a calm head while it seems like the world is exploding in the stream? You know, that's a really big one. That's a really big one, because there are some amazing people out there. They're absolutely wonderful, and you'd love to make them a mod, you know, but they
got to be able to
handle it.
Got to be able to keep the peace without stirring the pot, and like you know, and just being, you know, I guess there could be power hungry ones. When it comes to mods, for me, it's just normally it's trustworthiness. Like over time, it just builds up, or they've helped me with something on my stream. A lot of times it's that, and they just like Pixel says, you just kind of fall into the role because they seem like the type of person that just wants to be helpful, wants to hang out, wants to be a friend, you know, just someone who's loyal to you, I guess. And yeah.
I think that's also a big point, is that a lot of people perceive mod as actually just the person who bans. Right. And yet mods are like, should be the opposite, is like the ones who are informing your chat, the ones who are, you know, being the voice when you can't be. And I think that's the biggest thing, is like when you see new mods, a lot of time they focus on banning. They focus on the punishments that are going out, as opposed to the other stuff. And that's just an experience thing. It's not I don't think it's anybody trying to be evil or power hungry. It's just that's the way it's perceived to be from the outside, right? You don't really see the part where they're hyping up the chat or just informing, dropping commands to teach everybody. You often see the bans. Oh, chat was deleted, message deleted, right? And I think that's the biggest thing for mods.
Yeah, it's you know, and the thing is like as your mods get to know you better and you get to know them better, they start to understand the degrees. Like when do I ban somebody, and when do I suspect of somebody of something, and maybe I should just report that to Twitch and let Twitch take a look at it, kind of thing, you know? Or when do I bring something up to the streamer in question and ask them, you know, like is this something, you know? And my team's actually gotten really great about that. It's like Standard, I sent you a whisper, can you take a look at it real quick? Or Standard, can you check Discord for me real quick? And they just need clarification on something, you know? And that communication is really key. And that's admittedly, like, communication with my moderating team and my administrators is something that I admittedly have been very weak about. And I'm very much working to improve. But you've got to stay in contact with them so that they know what you expect. I see a lot of streamers get really mad at their teams because they're not behaving a certain way or doing a certain thing. It's like, well, did you talk to them?
Right.
Did you tell them what you're expecting? Did you tell them what you're looking for? Did you tell them how you want certain situations handled? And a lot of that just boils down to having a closed moderator channel in your Discord and saying, hey guys, this is a new thing I've been seeing come up in the stream repeatedly. Would you mind handling the situation this way if it comes up? And just those basic communications. And that's really all you need to worry about. And having a moderator meeting once in a while, like a voice meeting or something like that, is helpful as well. You know, just make sure that you're connected. Make sure that you understand. Make sure they understand how much you appreciate them and the things they do, because moderators do a lot for us.
So much.
They really do. They really do. They are your shield. Absolutely. They are your welcoming committee. As has been brought up several times, like they're the ones that'll fire up the extra commands. Like you'll be talking about, some new feature of the stream, and they'll pull up the command to do that. They really are wonderful, and they're there because they care about you and they care about your community, and you've always got to keep that in mind. So somebody that volunteers to be there to not just hang out and enjoy the show, but also help you deserves that extra piece of appreciation. Absolutely. You cannot lose sight of that. You cannot lose sight of that.
Call my mods the Spooo Guard for a reason. They protect me. They hold the gates.
Yeah, they do. They really do. They really do.
Absolutely. And communication's a challenging thing I encounter a lot. It's because sometimes I feel like people already know. So it's like,
yeah,
I have the assumption that everything's already there. But obviously, as time goes on, we've been doing this for a very long time, and we've had mods with us for a very long time. And sometimes you go months without talking, and it's like, that's bad.
Yeah.
Let me fix that or try to get better at that. And it's just, there's so much going on that we often get lost in our own heads and let those things come by. And it's important to just keep thinking about those things and just try and get better, right?
Yeah.
I think I'm addressing chat. I think if you have if you think you need a mod or you want a mod and there's people asking, just come up with some sort of little application for it. I see a lot of streamers do that. I've never done it personally, but I know it's a thing. And I've had people reach out to me about becoming mod before, and I have made them mod before, but it's not like I'll never respond to it positively if it's done in chat.
Right.
It's always been privately, and then we just kind of talk, and I tell them what I expect, and then I kind of tell them I'll think about it, and then if it happens, it happens. Like depending on their behavior after that conversation, because you just want to see if they're trustworthy or loyal, and that just can take a lot of time. So and that's why mods tend to happen naturally, because you do just start trusting people and getting to know them and whatever through anything. Maybe not, and it's probably better that it's not just in stream and it's outside of stream in Discord, or they see, on social media you're helping them out, and there's so much free support that people can do. And if you're a mod, I feel like that's just one of those things that should come naturally. If you like being a mod of a channel, you just kind of naturally support
the channel
and help the channel. Yeah, of course.
Yeah, that's one thing I don't think I've ever done is just make somebody mod after asked. Like anybody, actually, I don't think I've ever made a mod who asked.
I know I never have.
I think I've waited for people to fill the position and then ask them if they want to be a part.
Well, it just works better. It works better that way when it just happens naturally.
Well,
because somebody might come in and really like your channel and really, whatever, and they're just like hyped about it, and they're like, "Oh man, I would love to be a mod for this guy," and then it dies out after a month or two or something.
Because it's a lot, and it's a lot sticking around at the same place for a long time too, right?
Yeah.
It's like those are your like true hardcores who are there all the time.
Yeah.
Supporting you and everything.
And something you got to keep in mind too is that your moderating team, just like your community does, your moderating team will also cycle. So there are times where you just have to not be afraid, not to go to the negative here, but don't be afraid to go have a conversation with one of your moderating team if they're never around anymore, or they haven't been hanging out, or behavior has been a bit erratic or anything like that. Because sometimes people, like your moderators, are going to be some of the closest people you have in your community for obvious reasons. And they might develop their own aspirations, or things might change in their lives where they're no longer able to be a moderator for you. And that becomes time to have that talk. I've actually developed now a send-off system when we demod somebody and move them back over to VIP. We put a little celebration, right on live on stream for them, and we thank them for what they've done and all that. The last mod that I had that left, it's not that he's not around anymore, he doesn't want to be a part of the community, but he's off building his own stream and he's really taking it seriously, and he just doesn't have time anymore. Right. Because he's off working on his own thing, which I'm really proud of him for. He's doing a great job with it. He's doing a lot of work and it's awesome. So we gave him this big, beautiful send off on the way. It doesn't have to be demodding somebody does not have to be a negative thing is what I'm coming around to.
Right, of course not.
It's just their situations have changed. They're not able to be around anymore or as much anymore. And yeah, just make sure that you handle that appropriately. These people have done great things for you. They've been a huge help.
And it's a great way for you as a streamer yourself to branch out in general. Like that person's always going to respect you and you're always going to have that connection to them. So it's like, that's just how that helps both of you, honestly. If someone's really trying to start, and you probably were part of the reason they were influenced to start doing that to begin with. So like, it's just a whole, it's all positive. You shouldn't see it as negative ever. If somebody tries it or if somebody's doing that, because I just see that as an extension of yourself, so to speak.
Yeah. Well, it also teaches you to handle people a little bit, right? That just because somebody's moving on, it's not a bad thing. You know, in any regard, right? Like if you hang out with a friend for a long time and then they're moving on to, you know, tackle this new step in their life and they're going to get really busy and not be able to spend as much time with you, that's not a bad thing. Right, it sucks, but it's not a bad thing. They're doing positive things, and that's all good. So it's the same thing with employees or even mods and stuff like that.
Yeah, absolutely. They've got people always have their own aspirations, and when they start to work really hard in that direction, even if it means a loss to you, it's still something to be celebrated. You know, and that doesn't just apply to situations like this. It applies to a lot of things. But when they start seeing things like that, and you, especially if, like Spooo said, like, you know, if you had a piece in that or you had a hand in that somehow, that's something to be really proud of. And it's hard. It's hard, especially if they were good. You know, especially when they get really close to say, you know, I'm sorry, I'm you know, because it always feels like you're taking it away. It feels like you're taking the sword away, right? And you're not. It's ushering them, you know, and giving them a beautiful send off into the next step of their own journey. And that's I think it's a great thing. I think it's a really great thing. It was hard, but it was a great thing.
I was gonna crack a joke. Before they leave, make sure they apprentice someone. Now you need to recruit a mod before you leave, young man.
Yeah, find your replacement and get them up to speed to what you did.
You have 2 weeks.
I always keep a list around too of people that have been around a lot and people that I think I might want to bring on, so that if I lose a mod, I know who my next step is gonna. That goes back to writing things down, but who I think the next people might be.
Right.
Or just that's another next step to think about. Like, okay, I want my stream to grow, so my stream's going to grow. I'm going to need a mod at some point, so I need to start thinking about that. If if you're always thinking about growth, you're always thinking about that next preparedness, or you should be anyway.
Right, and then keeping that list, just being ready for that whenever shit hits the fan, or even just when you start growing. Whatever happens first, you can grab from that list. There was a question about do you three guys go back and watch VODs? I think we've talked about this before. I don't actually watch a lot of VODs. I know that I should, but I don't. I know Jamie.
I don't watch a lot either. I watch bits and pieces depending on what if I'm trying something new, I'll go check it out. Or if something happened during a stream and I wanted to see the reaction from chat tends to take me to the VOD. Like if chat is going crazy and I did something, I'll go back and be like, what exactly was I doing at this moment, type of a thing. Mm-hmm. But I don't do it a lot. I definitely don't do it a lot.
Yeah, I definitely do. I definitely do. Not my entire VOD, but I will usually I'll try to find a good clip and then watch maybe 15 minutes to a half an hour on either side of that. See what led up to it, see what happened afterwards, and it just it goes back again to it allows you to watch your own idiosyncrasies, listen to how you were talking. I always the best advice I can give when it comes to watching VODs is watch a VOD and then ask yourself, are you being the kind of streamer that you would want to hang out with? For a long time, I didn't watch my own material, and now admittedly when I go back and watch old clips, I cringe. You know, either because of the sound or how I was behaving, or you know, or the technical production side of it, things like that. Like there's so much as we become more and more experienced as streamers, there's so much we take for granted. We forget sometimes where we were back then, because you know, like everything, like we always talk about, like we build our equipment out in steps, we build our techniques out in steps, and you slowly improve. You learn over time how to handle things differently. But it is so critical. I cannot advise it enough. Like take some time. Like don't spend hours upon hours doing it. That's a waste. But allow yourself, like find a good clip and maybe watch some on either side of that, and just see what kind of streamer you are, and ask yourself that question: am I being the kind of person that I would want to hang out with if I was watching on Twitch? You know, if the answer is
one of those moments where you feel like you're stuck. Like you've had 20 viewers for 8 months and you're like, why am I stuck? Yeah, that's when that's one of those moments where you really need to start looking at yourself and being like, what can I do? What am I doing? Why aren't I growing? You know, am I saying something a lot that maybe isn't resonating right with people, or it could be anything, a whole number of things. Or maybe I'm not doing enough. Maybe I'm just sitting around and like not talking for 30 minutes at a time, or, you know.
Yeah. There's something you should always do is after a stream, and I've actually got myself in the habit of doing this consistently now. Go back and look at your clips for two reasons. One is the one we're talking about right now. It gives you some perspective on how, like what you look like, what you sound like, how you're reacting to different things, but also it gives you an idea, like if people are clipping it, it's something that they enjoyed. So that gives you a little bit of insight into your community. If they're going to actually take the time to clip something, that means they thought it was really funny, you know, or they thought it was really entertaining, or they thought it was really poignant. You know, there can be a number of things, but it gives you an idea of maybe some things that you should do more of. But another reason, you know, again, not to go to the negative here, but another reason is people will clip things to try and trap you. And it's good to go through and watch and make sure, you know, to basically eliminate those clips. Not that you have to delete a VOD, but eliminate the clips.
And it tells you who clips too. So
yeah, and it shows you, who's clipping, and it shows you who's doing what. So yeah,
I know who's clipping.
I know what you're doing out there. Have you guys ever had a mod abuse their powers?
Maybe way back in the day that I can't remember, but I think most of the stuff I've dealt with when it comes to mods is just the way they speak, or speak to people, or maybe there was a situation that, you know, because I definitely, as a streamer, I'll mess with trolls sometimes. So there's a degree of the person that I want to mess with and that I just want gone. I guess there's like that fine line in there that I guess can be tough to, I don't know.
Yeah. Well, it's always hard to have everybody on the same page, right?
Mm-hmm.
With like where your boundaries are.
Yeah.
But I don't think, like for direct abuse, I don't think I've never brought somebody on board that would act that way. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like, there's definitely been miscommunication. Yeah. Like, oh, we thought the rules was this. Okay, well, no, they're not. This is and then problem solved, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, there's been moments where it's like somebody got banned, and I went and saw what they did, and it was like, well, it wasn't that bad. Maybe it's just a purge or a timeout. But then that's kind of on me to just communicate that to the mods, you know? So, like Jamie brought up before, having a mod chat in your Discord, I have that as well. So anytime there's something that like maybe a mod did that I would just want to tweaked a little bit, then I'll type it in there and be like, hey, if this ever, you know, if this type of situation happens again, don't immediately ban, just time them out first, something like that.
Yeah.
And then you just try to have that communication.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't say nothing like full crazy abuse, like they're going crazy. And if they were going crazy, it would just be one of those moments of me reaching out to them and be like, dude, like, calm down. What's going on? I can't have you doing this. And if they keep doing it, then they're gone. So going back to controlling your stream. You're in control of
that stream.
everything, even your mods.
The more situations you have come up where you have to have those conversations with a particular moderator too, the more they learn about how you want things handled, and they become some of your most valuable moderators. I had a moderator that wasn't full on abuse, but he would actually, for a while, they were using their power, so to speak, to troll, and or they themselves were getting truly, like, it was a case of true oversensitivity. And I had to pull them aside and I had to say, look, like this is number one, you don't use your mod powers to troll in the channel. I don't want that, because that can give people the wrong idea. And number two, you're going to have to get over some of these oversensitivities that you have, because they were like their timeouts and all this stuff that were completely unnecessary. Now, that said, it's about teaching. So through those conversations and all that, they've since become one of my powerhouse mods. They're really, really exceptional. And that's something you got to understand too. Like, every time you bring on a new moderator, like going back to teaching, every time you bring on a new moderator, you've got to be more forgiving with them, because they need time to learn.
Let them learn the ropes.
You want things handled. Yeah. How you want all that done. And it's a little tough. It gets a little rough at times, but once you've had a chance to do that, they're going to be some of the most amazing team members you have.
Well, it's smooth sailing from that point on. Yeah. And you've kind of guided them in the direction of exactly how you want, because you've communicated your intents and stuff like that, right?
Yeah. And you've got to be willing to have those conversations too.
Right.
It's not like, oh, you screwed up, you're gone.
That can be the toughest part, because people are like, don't necessarily know how to deal with certain situations, and really all it takes is just some open-minded conversation and trying to understand each other, basically. And you just have to be adults about it. And so it's hard for people to do that sometimes. So because they feel attacked, maybe.
Oh yeah. Sometimes it's tough to have the conversation, not because you're not willing to have the conversation, but again, the recipient is not exactly willing to have it. And if I would say that if that becomes the case where you can't have a conversation with that individual and say, hey, look, I need you to handle this situation a little bit differently, and they, then it might be time to have a different conversation with them, but most of the time, and with my team, I've never had a time come up where I couldn't talk to them, any one of them, and say, the way you handled this, could you handle it a little bit differently next time? Like, here's how I'd like it done. And I've personally never had an issue with it, but I have spoken with other streamers that, they have mod members that they can't tell them anything,
right,
without there being some kind of issue or some kind of problem. So,
well, sensitivity is a challenging subject these days, right? And I find it a big challenge, because I'm a very blunt person. Like, I just say it. I like in a point form, like, that was bad. I don't fluff it. I don't create the fluff, right? And so there's a question in chat. It's like, do you guys think being oversensitive is bad, or do you guys prefer being tough? It's like, I honestly prefer being straightforward and blunt, and like, here's the information, do with it as you will, if you choose to grab it or don't, right? And it's like, I'm not going to take time fluffing up the statement just to make the reception better. It's like, I'm here. If you guys want the information, I'll provide it. But it's like, I don't like to fluff things up personally.
Yeah. It's people forget that you can be kind while you're being direct. And that's just it, is if you keep that in mind, whether you're typing a message or actually directly talking to an individual about something like this, there's nothing wrong with being direct, because if you fluff is actually a great word, Mike. If you over fluff it, the message that you're trying to send gets diluted at that point, and that doesn't work either. That's in many ways actually worse.
Right. It's like the whole like, hey, I hope your day's going well, and then boom, right? It's like, okay, like, I get it. And for business emails, I still do that. for very
Yeah.
business, like if I'm like talking to a high-end business that I know that that's their processes, right? And it's like, okay, I
These
better.
days, you better be saying, "I hope your home's safe." Wait, what is it? I don't even know what it is. It's like stay safe and healthy. Your family's safe
Right,
and
yeah.
healthy.
Yeah.
Because
It's-
you got to stay relevant, right?
It's the courtesy, I guess, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Yeah,
I just dodge it. I just dodge the courtesy.
Yeah. You don't, but yeah.
Yeah, but it makes you look like a dingo.
Yeah,
But that's okay.
Yeah.
I'm a big
it's just,
jingle.
it all boils down to just how you approach. You can be like I said, you can be direct but kind. You don't have to. You just don't have to be like some people come in with a sledgehammer and it's like, oh my god, no, that doesn't work. Again, that goes back to remembering that you're dealing with an all volunteer team too, and again, if you can't find a way to have that kind of conversation with somebody, whether it's on your end or theirs, the chemistry might not be there for them to be a mod with you any longer. It's sometimes, and it's an unfortunate situation. I personally have not been through it. As a streamer, I have not been through it. As a manager, I've been through it a number of times where we put people in positions we found that wasn't a good fit for them. But
Right.
but as a streamer, luckily I have not gone through that. But again, there may come a time where you find yourself where you've brought somebody up to that moderator place and you can't have those conversations with them, and you have to understand that that's just not going to
It's not gonna work
then.
Yeah,
So
because you got to run your business. You got to keep things moving forward, and conversation is key to moving forward.
yeah. As your channel grows and your content grows, you are going to figure out very quickly that you don't I would never say you don't have time to be kind, but you don't have time to have to continuously go back to a problem, especially the same problem.
Yeah.
It's like I need to address this with you, and let's move forward together, kind of thing, as opposed to why am I coming back to you the third time now to talk to you about the same thing I talked to you about a month ago, kind of thing. So you have to that goes back to valuing your own time as well.
And that tends to happen in all forms too, not just with moderators. I feel like
that's with everything.
It's just like this when you notice the same thing happening, just I guess in relationships in general, or even like work or with anything, when the same thing just continuously happens over and over, you just end up wanting to push it away, and dealing with that same type of bull crap. You're either pushing it away because it's not getting fixed.
Yeah.
So it's like I just have to get rid of it because this is dragging me down.
Right.
Yeah.
Or not focus so much time on it anyway, or whatever it is.
Yeah. It's good advice. We're coming up to the end here. If you guys have any questions, but I do want to just do a little reflection period off chat. We've been doing this for, I guess, a couple months now, and I think we're having a blast with it. But is there anything that we can address for you guys in the future that maybe we haven't yet, or that any kind of value we could provide for you guys going forward? Be happy to take it in. You guys can submit it through questions. It doesn't have to be now. You can submit it to any of the guys through their DMs on Discord if there's something you want to address. But we just want to kind of scale this experience and continue providing the value. And we do circle back a lot on subjects, but it's often because we feel like they're very important to the experience on stream and marbles and kind of what we're doing here. Yeah. You guys have any?
So if you guys ever want anything talked about in general that you think is interesting when it comes to the streaming / marbles world or anything, give them to us. You never know. We might talk about them the next week, or at least make a point of it or something like that. In case you can't formulate your thoughts correctly while the stream is happening because you're trying to listen and everything like that, just feel free to reach out. Otherwise, maybe there should be a podcast suggestion channel in the Discord or something.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, that might not be a bad idea at all, because we don't want to just sit here and jaw. You know, I mean, don't get me wrong. I love that part of it, but also we want to make sure that whatever content we provide for you is relevant and is relevant to the things that you want to hear and things that you want to know about. Sometimes we come in with a very determined agenda, like there's something we know that has to be addressed. And by the way, if my camera goes sideways, please know my cat is in here being rambunctious right now. But again, you know, we want to make sure that we're giving you what you want. You know, we want to make sure that we're here for you, that we're actually providing things that you want to know about, that you want to hear about. That's very, very, very important to us. Like, you know, one thing that all three of us take very seriously is how you are treated, how we handle things for you, how we reach out to you. So it's this is one of those moments of help us help you. You know, let us know what you want to know, and we can cover it in future episodes.
Yeah, totally. No question, but I just want to say that this community and all the people in it are just awesome. Thank you, Mike, for giving such an amazing game that has brought so many of us together. Zori, honestly, at this point, it's everybody. This is so awesome because everybody's involved. It's not me. Like, it's everybody making this awesome for everybody else. And the fact that the top of the category and the point of entry for all the new folks, there's a reason why the game's growing, and it's not because of me. It's because of all of you guys that are like playing the game so much and sharing your knowledge. Yesterday I was in a channel and I saw somebody ask a question about the ghost ball, or no, they didn't know what the ghost ball was, and they used our bot to answer the question with an FAQ about the ghost ball. And it's stuff like that it's so little, but I was like, holy crap, like, it's being used. Like, the tools we're making are being used so you guys can teach each other better. And and that all wraps up to like what we're doing here is like,
and that's just going to keep spreading.
Yeah. Like, we want to teach you guys. We have the classes with Twidget. Standard will take the level 2 classes if you guys want to take it to the next level, and we can continue building on this as long as you guys want it. So it's just it's just an awesome experience to be able to be a part of, honestly.
Come out and network on Sunday nights, 7 p.m. Spooo Town. Marble with us.
Oh yeah, Spooo does his races. So offline, you don't have to, like, it's not on stream or anything.
Yeah, we literally just hang out. There's not a lot of pressure at all. Really, there's no pressure at all. We just kind of hang out and pop into different streams, maybe 6 to 8 throughout 3 hours of time, and we just get to know people out there in the community, or we meet new people, and it's a great way to honestly just network and make friends. And the more you do that, the more you will notice, either just as yourself personally, you're making more friends and having a better time, or if you're a streamer, you're going to notice more people starting to float into your channels just because you're kind of doing that, and you're spreading yourself out and getting to know people as well, and they're going to want to get to know you.
Hell yeah. One question about the game. At the beginning of a race, could it be made where you can see their profile and rank before the race starts? You can. If you hit tab, you can move the camera, and then if you use F, you can snap to any marble in the race and see their stats, snap to them, get their card, and everything like that. Oh my god. Do you ever think you're overreacting a little bit, timing people out for hitting play? Yeah, we do that sometimes to wake people up, but it's just a timeout. There's no permanent impact of that. That's life.
It's teaching.
It's teaching. In a really raw way.
Because streamers notice that, you know, and streamers, when they see you just type play randomly in their chat out of nowhere, it's like, well, this guy's not paying attention. Why should I care about them?
We're teaching you for the future. All right, guys. That's it. As always, thanks for watching. Thanks for supporting the podcast. We love doing this. And we got Community Day in just under 1 hour, and Standard Damage will be continuing at 4 p.m. Eastern.
Yep.
Lots of prizes, lots of races, and awesome weekend.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Thanks again. Spooo, Standard, in your time are amazing. Bye. Bye.